Hey, Boomer.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Oh, man, 3 weeks to this football season's finally over for both you guys and us down here in New York. Holy God.
You sound ill.
You know what? I've had a head cold for over a week. I sound worse than I feel, I will say that.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, my radio partner, one of them had a flu, the other one had a cold, and then, of course, I'm sitting right there in that German-infested studio.
Well, let me put off talking football as long as possible because I want to thank you for your Christmas gift this year.
Oh, you're welcome.
10 out of 10.
Just arrived. Theragun, the massaging device. Courtney is sitting on hers right now here at Gillette, and I can't thank you enough. It's an awesome gift. We really, and this is one that Wiggy's happy with it, and he's keeping it.
Yeah, all day, baby.
Oh, I'm glad. You know, the thing about it is, Wig, I just wanted them to feel like what it meant to be a football player. You know, every Monday morning you wake up, you're sore, you're bruised, and before every game, you know, it's nice to get one of those things going for you to get you all loosened up.
Exactly.
Maybe this Patriots team was too loose. We've been talking about it this morning. They seemed unprepared, Boomer.
Well, you know, anytime you lose the way that they lost and you lose not turnover battle, time of possession battle by 8 minutes, you're going to feel like you got your ass kicked. And quite frankly, you know, they're moving up the draft board right now. They're number 3 in the draft rankings. And like I said, the season can't get over fast enough, and it's not going to be pretty as we finish now. Coming down this last month of the season. And, you know, you wonder which one of these teams may, you know, win a game or two, whether it be the Giants, the Patriots, Jacksonville, or New England, that is going to cost them somebody very special at the top of this draft. So, I mean, what I see again about the Patriots is I see some quality players on the team. There's no question about this. This is going to be a huge rebuilding offseason. They have plenty of money to spend up against the salary cap. They got to get it right at the top of these drafts, though. That's really what it comes down to. They've got to get foundational players that are going to make a difference.
After the game, Drake Maye asked about why they didn't quarterback sneak it with Drake, and his answer was essentially, "You said it, I didn't." Is that a shot at Alex Van Pelt? And if so, is this Drake Maye again pointing the finger at everybody else?
Well, to me, what it sounded like was like, I don't know, I'm not the offensive coordinator. I don't call the offensive plays. And I always wondered, you know, the relationship between Josh McDaniel and Bill Belichick. I think Bill Belichick would look over to Josh and say, hey, this is what we want to do here. This is how we want to do it. And I think the head coach, especially in that case, because of his success and you know, his controlling nature, that he would definitely have input on the offensive game plan. I'm not so sure that Drake Maye is going to be doing that as a former defensive player and still trying to find his footing as a head coach. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like, yeah, that's Alex Van Pelt's call. That's the offense's call. It doesn't sound like he gets too involved in that. And that would be a smart thing for me, just simply because there's so many things on his plate as a head coach that sometimes a rookie head coach is going to be missing different things, and they're not going to be a part of things that you would think that they should be.
Boomer, in that same breath, when you look at Drake Maye and his development going into next season, is it more on if Drake Maye is the guy, or is it more on is AVP good for Drake Maye? If we keep Drake Maye for another season, say, and he's not the guy, will that really hurt or deter Drake Maye?
I mean, I have to wait and see what happens these last 3 games, believe it or not. I mean, every snap for Drake Maye is of the utmost importance. He's got to experience everything, you know. He's got to feel what it means like to be tight in games if they can be late in these games. And as long as he continues to show progress, you know, yesterday, you know, they had a terrible third down package. You know, I think they were 0 for 6 on third down, which really is what cost them in the time of possession game. And, you know, if you can't convert and you're not converting, there's obviously something wrong there. So I still say that I want to see more. I want to see these last 3 weeks because this is really important stuff going into next year. It may not seem it now, but for next year, all the experiences that he can deal with, and he and Alex Van Pelt together will determine whether or not there'll be a new offensive coordinator. My hunch is that there will be.
Boomer, you talked about the Jets and the Giants. The one thing that you can at least say from them that you see is guys like Malik Neighbors or a guy like Garrett Wilson, or even Devontae Adams in the game yesterday. The Patriots receiving core, Is it? It's so bad. Like, do we really know how good Alex Van Pelt or even Drake Maye could be? Because they're just so far behind when it comes to having anybody at the wide receiver position that can really be explosive.
Well, that and the offensive line. I mean, those are two areas where they have to vastly improve. They have to be their two top priorities, I would think. And it goes hand in hand. If the offensive line is continuing to be shuffled and there's guys in and out of the lineup, there's no continuity there. There's nothing there, and they don't work together. And if they don't work together, then how are they going to be picking up stunts? How are they going to be blocking different defensive schemes that they're going to see week in and week out? And then, of course, that hurts the wide receivers down the field, and they didn't get into the game until late yesterday. So, we all know what the problems are, where they need to really focus on in this offseason, and wide receiver like a guy like T. Higgins, who most likely is going to be a free agent. I don't know. The Bengals keep saying they're going to maybe, put the franchise tag on him or something, but they're going to have to pay Jamar Chase a bank load. I just can't imagine that T. Higgins is not going to be a free agent. And if he is, I would think he would be one of the guys that I would be looking at if I were New England.
As an expert lip reader, I deciphered Jonathan Kraft yesterday during that game saying the play calling is terrible. Is that an issue for Alex Van Pelt?
Yeah, well, of course it is. But I would also say, I don't want to kill the players. I mean, it's an average roster, and that goes back to Elliott Friedman. That goes back to it's not Elliott Friedman. Elliott Wolf. I'm thinking of the hockey guy, Elliott Friedman. Because my hockey team stinks right now, which is the Rangers, by the way. But I would say that, it does not bode well for AVP. It does not bode well for, Elliott Wolf. I mean, they just don't have a great team. There's no Julian Edelmans, Rob Gronkowski, Randy Mosses, Tom Brady's running around out there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just an average roster team. And I feel like for 14 weeks now, this is all we've been talking about. And we're going to continue to talk about it until we see what they do this offseason via the draft and free agency.
Well, looking around the league, Josh Allen threw for 362 yards, 4 touchdowns, ran for 68, 2 touchdowns. I mean, we talked about it last week. He's got to be the MVP.
I would say he's number one right now, and Lamar Jackson's right on his heels, man. Lamar threw five touchdowns yesterday against a crappy Giants defense. So I would say 1A and 1 and 1A would be Josh Allen would be first, and then Lamar Jackson would be second. Really, really, really. And this is where Lamar won it last year. If you remember, the last month of the season, he beat Tua Tagovailoa, and they went out and they beat San Francisco and Brock Purdy. And those two guys were in the running for MVP too until they lost to the Ravens. So it goes to show you that these last 3 games of the regular season are going to be vital to determine who is ultimately going to be the MVP. But if I had to guess, I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know, Josh, I feel like he's got to do so much more, especially with his defense giving up as many points as they're giving up now all of a sudden.
If you were Andy Reid, would you just give up the 1 seed and make sure that Mahomes' ankle is fine when it comes to playoff time?
It's going to be hard to keep Patrick off the field, as we saw with an ankle injury a couple years ago. But they have a 2-game lead in the AFC, I believe. And I do believe they may have the only one they don't have the tiebreaker over, I believe, is Buffalo because of the head-to-head matchup. But I would take at least a week. I would give up a game, assuming that, you think you're going to lose the next game that they play, and make sure that he is healthy going into the playoffs. I would not risk him if I didn't have to.
I have to ask the question because last year I believe the word you used to describe him was douchey. But Mac Jones, is he the cockiest losing quarterback you've seen?
He does this weird thing with his head and shoulders. I don't know if you've seen this. I'm sure you have. Like he'll throw a pass and he'll walk over to the sideline and he'll tilt his head to the left.
Yeah.
And he'll lift up his left shoulder, and he'll be walking to the sideline like he's like unbalanced or something. It's just a weird kind of way, and the one thing I will say about Mac is that when the ball comes out of his hand, it looks strange, man. It's like everything is high. Everything wants to be high or overthrown. And, that interception to seal the game for the Jets yesterday it was a horrendous decision and a horrendous throw. And that was the Mac Jones that we saw in New England the last 2 years.
not to use an analogy that might be troublesome for you right now, but it looks like when it comes out like a drone that is like seeking the other team.
Yeah.
Boomer, have you seen the drones?
I have only seen videos of them. I haven't seen them up close and personal. I mean, I'm in downtown New York as we speak now, down in Tribeca. They have not been flying over us.
Okay.
But my producer, Al Dukes, is from Bradley Beach, New Jersey. And he is basically so, like, interwound into this whole thing that like you can't even have a conversation, normal conversation with him.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know if it's UFOs or I don't know what's going on. I'm terrified.
I don't know either, but I would say the only palatable explanation that I have gotten thus far is that it could be some government agency that is potentially looking for some sort of radioactive material that may have made its way into this country through the port of Newark.
Yep.
That's the only that's the only explanation that I am willing to accept right now. And I don't want them to tell me what they're looking for.
Right.
Because by now
I'd
it's
rather
too late.
aliens.
Right. You'd prefer Courtney would prefer the aliens.
Yeah.
That's
Than
terrifying.
some nuclear bomb. Yep, I'll take the aliens.
Terrifying for her.
Boomer, there's been talk about the Jets and former Titans GM. Any chance if they do go, I'm drawing a blank on his name, any chance if they do go with him, we see Vrabel over there. I know there's been conversations about that. And if Vrabel does land there, is there a chance that Rodgers would return to play for Vrabel?
I still think there is a very good chance, depending on who they hire as a coach, that Aaron Rodgers stays here. I mean, look, they still have another year in the contract. All of a sudden now, the last couple of weeks, he's starting to play well. Maybe it has something to do with playing in warm weather the last 2 weeks. He played in Miami and Jacksonville in back-to-back weeks. And, I mean, yesterday was vintage Aaron Rodgers. You know, I was thinking to myself late in this game that if the Jets were going to lose the game, because they almost did, I could hear people screaming and yelling about Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers did everything to win the game yesterday, not lose the game. It was the Jets' defense that has fallen apart over the last 6 weeks. But depending on who the coach is, if it is like a Vrabel or John Gruden, somebody of that stature, I could see Aaron Rodgers staying here. But if it's like an Aaron Glenn or Bobby Slowick or somebody like that, I just don't see that. So if Rabes comes here, which would be great, I could see him wanting to have Aaron Rodgers on that field, no question.
Question of the week for Boomer Esiason, brought to you by McFarland Energy, the region's most dependable provider of home heating, oil delivery, and expert HVAC services. Find them at McFarlandEnergy.com. How does the great Bill Belichick do when it comes to college football?
I think he's going to do great, man. I really do. You know, the thing for me was after all these reports and everything else, it's shocking to me that he did contact the Jets. And there were multiple sources that said that he did. That's how bad he must have wanted to get back into the NFL, that he was actually considering the Jets. But you know what? There is something that I kind of like about this. And he'll have it all set up. He'll have it running the right way. And look, they're not in a very difficult conference in the ACC. I mean, he can go in there within a week and get that team to the top of that division. So I think he's going to do great. And I think it's great that he gets a chance to live a dream, it sounds like.
Do you think it's all about the control thing? I mean,
I do.
Yeah, that's why.
I actually texted a buddy of mine that works inside the NFL offices here in New York, who knows pretty much all the owners, has relationships with everybody. And I basically asked him a simple question. And the question was, are the owners of the NFL intimidated by Bill Belichick? And his answer back to me was, yes, they are. And the reason for that is because a lot of these owners are afraid to totally blow up their building in order to, become competitive again. And that's what would be required if you hired him. He's not going to be accepting of a GM, or he's going to want to control the whole thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why NFL teams turn their back to him.
All right, Boomer. Well, it's been awesome all year long. I'm off next week, so we won't talk, but I'll talk to you in the new year. And what?
And congratulations are in order because Boomer is going to be a grandfather of twins.
Oh, boy. When is that happening, Boomer?
That happens in May. Yeah, my daughter, Sydney. Thank you, Courtney. I thought I announced it by accident last week. I didn't realize she did it on social media. Yeah, but we got twin boys coming in May, and I couldn't be any happier. That's 6 grandkids in 4 years, for God's sake.
You don't look. You do not look old enough to be a grandfather. Let me be the first. Let me be the first to say that, Boomer.
I think you just like your Theragun gift, is what I think. and I appreciate the sentiment. That's what I appreciate.
Boomer, Merry Christmas. And
Merry Christmas, guys.
Talk to you after the new year.
All right, sounds good. See ya.